Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to continue Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare. Yesterday we read the themes, we read about the settings of the play, language of the play, and the most important was the characterization. There are 19 characters, but some of the important characters we discussed about them, and I told you to make some notes on those important characters and themes as well. So the last theme we discussed yesterday was friendship. Today we are going to start another important question, that is about plot. What is a plot? It's a really very important question, so please be careful. Plot narrates the main story in a logical and organized way, or you can say that it is the plot that takes the whole story in a logical and organized way. You have already read about the plot and some characteristics of plot in your first year class, so you need to understand it in a better way again, because it's a very important character so for the plays are concerned. So let me explain. For example, this is a story. Any story. For example, man died and his wife died. This is the story. Look here. Man died and his wife died in his grief. This is the plot. This is the plot that is going to explain the reasons that when man died, what was the reason that his wife also died. So the wife died in her husband's grief. So this is the plot that explains the story in a logical way, in an organized way, or in a proper way. You are given the reasons that the story moves in a logical way, step by step. So this is the function of the plot. Again, to explain the events of the story, all the characters of the story in a logical and organized way. There are some important steps of plot that you need to understand them, because when this question would come, discuss the plot of the play, or what is the plot of the play. Discuss, or which are the steps of the plot of the play Merchant of Venice. So you are going to discuss them one by one in detail, and I have given you some important points. You are going to only explain them. Number one is introduction. First step is introduction, that is also called exposition, as the word explains. Exposition means explains. The story is exposed. It is also called opening of the play, and three important aspects or elements are linked or are discussed under introduction. First is setting, that you are explained, or you are given the details of the setting. Setting means the place, where did the play take place. Then conflict. What is the conflict in the play is described in the beginning. For example, here the conflict between Christians and Jews is depicted. Conflict between Shylock and Antonio is presented. And in the introduction, some important characters, significant main characters are also introduced. Got it? Then the story moves towards the rising action, As the word itself explains, rising action means the events or the actions of the story, they are moving upwards to some new directions, to some new steps. Here the story in a logical sequence moves or takes the events in a logical way towards the rising action. For example, so far this play is concerned, in rising action, what happens? The Shylock is introduced as a moneylender. His relations with Antonio are explained, which are very much negative. Both have hatred for each other. Only, and the reason is that Shylock only due to this hatred, Shylock agrees to give Antonio the money through a bond. That if Antonio fails to return the money on a specific time, then Shylock is bound to have Antonio's flesh, or Antonio's flesh will be cut from his body, from anywhere Shylock wants. On the other hand, Portia is very much worried about the man who would be selected for her marriage by her father. Then, so for Jessica is concerned, she marries Lorenzo after leaving her father, because I told you that she is fed up of the overprotection of her father. So these are the events that move in a logical way in rising actions. Understood? So the details which I have mentioned, you have to mention these details in your rising actions, or you have to give some of the examples in second step of the plot, that is rising action. That is why I explained all the events happened in rising action. In rising action, a sudden change basically is going to be happened. Then what happens? After that, there is climax. From introduction to rising action and then climax. You have read the definition of climax in figures of speech. Climax means a ladder, that the story moves from the lowest element towards the upwards direction, or to the most significant event is discussed. Climax is also called turning point, a peak point of the story, or where the suspense and the emotions are arised. The reader really gets confused that what is going to be happened after that, what will be the reaction of the characters, what will be the response of the characters, or the readers, they do not at all expect what happens in climax. The climax is full of suspense here. And what is the climax of this play, Merchant of Venice? When Portia, as Balthazar, a young boy in disguise of a lawyer, she reaches in the court to save Antonio's life. And let me recall that she is disguised, or she has disguised herself as a lawyer, and nobody knows about her disguise, about her appearance. So this is the scene in climax when Portia is going to fight the case of Antonio in the court as a lawyer. So what is going to be happened after this case? This is all, or what is going to be happened to Antonio? Will he be given punishment, or will he be released by the court? So this is all about climax. Then after climax, falling action starts. And in falling action is also called anticlimax. You can be asked to explain the anticlimax in the play. Or it is also called, here what happens, the self realization of the characters is there. A self realization of the characters is there. It means that characters are they develop self they start developing the realization not only about themselves, but about the other characters as well. For example, in anticlimax, what is anticlimax? The it is against, anti mean against climax. Now the you can say that the play is going to move towards the resolution of the play, towards the ending of the play. And here in falling action, in anticlimax, you are going to have some that the suspense of the story or some events of the story, they get clear, or clarification of the events you feel, start feeling about them, that you are going to, we can say, in other words, we can say that you are going to understand now, you are going to have some hints now that where the play is going to be turned, to which direction. And this is all about falling action or anti climax. So for this action, this play is concerned, what is anti climax here? For example, Portia in disguise, she tests Bassanio's loyalty by asking for a ring she has given to him as a symbol of love. And similarly, same was done by Nerissa as well. She also demands for the ring that she has given to her husband. So in this way, this is this all anti-climax. And in anti-climax, you can say that you can really feel that Portia reveals, or she is going to reveal her disguise as well. But yet she has not exposed the reality, but she is going to, after falling action. And here we can also observe that some characters, they start feeling that they start realizing, like Bassanio, he realized that he has done really something bad with Antonio. He should not have done this. He should not have asked for money just to marry Portia, or just to raise his status. He should not have demanded for 3,000 ducats. Similarly, Antonio realizes that he just took it as a sport. He thought that Shylock, in reality, Shylock does not mean what he has written in the bond, or the bond signed by them. He thought Antonio feels that he has done something wrong, though he does not have any, you can say that he does not lament, he does not feel sorry. He is very happy to sacrifice his life for his friend Bassanio. But to some extent, self-realization of the characters is there. Then after falling action, the story moves towards resolution. Resolution means the story is going to be resolved, is going to move towards ending of the play. As I told you that the Shakespeare used to write tragedies and comedies, and this tragedy is in tragedy you feel that there is catastrophic change. Catastrophe mean a huge disastrous kind of change is going to be felt by the characters, by the audience, by the spectators, by the readers. And in tragedy, the hero, most of the time, hero dies, and the audience, they start feeling sad for the characters, in the story, or the story moves towards the gloomy ending, sad ending, or the most of the time in tragedy audience audience does not feel happy about the story, and this is called catastrophe. And then the story can move, that this resolution or the story can move towards happy ending as well. Happy ending is given in comedy. Most of the comedies, what happens, that marriages are there, some romantic elements are there, you can say that element of love and friendship is there, some comic elements are there, some humorous, or you can say that humorous aspects or effects are there. Sorry, this is all about comedy. And comedy, in comedy, as I told you, that hero does not die. All the events of the story, complications of the story, are resolved in a proper way, and those complications, when resolved, once resolved, they move towards the happy ending. So for this play is concerned, in resolution, Portia and Nerissa, they reveal about their disguise, and they return, both of the characters, Portia and Nerissa, they return Bassanio and their husbands, they return the rings that they have demanded for, in this way, in a proper logical way, from introduction, rising action, climax, falling action, and then resolution. The story, it becomes, you can say, it shows that the story is having the perfect plot, or all the events they support to make the perfect plot of the play Merchant of Venice. So girls, you are going to have these 5 elements of plot, from introduction till resolution, as I explained you in detail. You are going to stop the video to listen to all the aspects and elements discussed, all the points discussed. You need to write down, to pen down all the aspects I am discussing and I have discussed in plot, so that you can understand each and every event properly under each and every step of the plot. Understood? This is all about the plot of the play. Now we are going to start the reading and explanation of the text. Hopefully you have understood the characterizations, main characters specifically, the themes of the play as well, or what is the most important element is the plot. How does the story moves from the beginning till end, or in a proper perfect way. Now I am going to explain you all the events through text and explanation. Let's begin. Girls, the reading and explanation. The first paragraph starts from: Shylock the Jew lived at Venice. He was a usurer who had gathered an immense means huge fortune by lending money at great interest to Christians, and he was disliked by all good men, and particularly by Antonio, a young merchant of Venice. There was great enmity between the covetous Jew, covetous means greedy, covetous is an adjective, and generous merchant Antonio. Why? Because Shylock was used to reproach him with his reproach the people with hard dealings. Reproach means that he was used to deal with people in a negative way. So Antonio was the kindest man, and he was a respectful man, and he was the friend of Bassanio. Bassanio had nearly exhausted his little fortune by living in too expensive a manner for his slender means. And Bassanio and Antonio, they were one heart and one purse between them. Let's explain. First of all, before we move towards the explanation of the first paragraph, let me tell you what is the significance of the first scene one in Shakespeare's plays. The first scene, or you can say, or the first paragraph of the play of Shakespearean's play, it gives the settings and location of the play. It tells you about the settings, mean that where did the play take place. So the paragraph says that this play takes place at Venice, as I told you, a commercial city of Italy. Then the first scene introduces the main characters. Shylock and Antonio are they are exposed. It reveals about the plot as well. From the very start, you can observe that after the introduction, conflict is also described between Antonio and Shylock. Their hatred is explained, and the first scene sets the tone of the play. Tone means whether you can guess that whether the play is going to have some suspense or happy or sad ending. So this is the beauty of Shakespearean's play. Now the first paragraph explains that a comparison between Shylock and Antonio, you are going to have the separate question. Write a note on Shylock's character and Antonio's character. You are going to have in this way write a comparison between Shylock and Antonio. So these are some important points that I gathered from the passage for your convenience. Shylock was a Jew, was a Jewish character. He lends money to the people. He means he was used to give, being a rich merchant, he was used to give money to the people, but with huge interest. It means that he was a stone-hearted person. He was not kind-hearted, and he used to deal people with hard dealings in business. Means he had some cruel laws in his business, and we find that he was a revengeful kind of person as well, because he wants to take revenge from Antonio because of some of the reasons that we will be reading about. And we also come across that he is a dual kind of personality. Means in front of the people he hides his personality. He is not what he actually presents himself. And we also observe that he is hated and disliked by people. Why? Because he used to deal with people through his hard dealings. He used to deal in business in a cruel manner as a stone-hearted person. On the other hand, Antonio was a kind-hearted person. He was, we can say, unweird. Unweird means he did not bother about anything. He had no worries basically. He worked for the welfare of people, and that is why he was loved by everyone in Venice. And we also find Antonio as a sincere friend as well. He was the friend of Bassanio. Got it? Now moving ahead towards the next passage. The next passage of the play says, one day Bassanio came to Antonio and told him that he wished to repair his fortune by a wealthy marriage with a lady whom he dearly loved and whose father was lately dead. Then we come to know that to marry Portia, Bassanio besought Antonio to add to the many favors he had shown him by lending him 3,000 ducats. Let's explain. Here in the paragraph, we find the theme of self interest versus love, or you can say, already I explained it, self interest versus selflessness. Look, Bassanio. Bassanio loves Portia, and Portia is a very much rich, wealthy lady. Bassanio we can say that he used to live a luxurious life. He was a spendthrift. Spendthrift means he was used to spend his money in a layerly manners, in a layerly way. So we can say that in this way we can say that he was a fun-loving man. He wants to be rich. He wants to marry Portia, and he wants to be rich by taking the money of not we cannot say that by taking the money, but by marrying Portia he wants to be rich. It means that to some extent we can say that he loves money too. But this is, we can't say that this is a negative aspect of his personality, but not positive as well. Because a spendthrift having or being a spendthrift is not a good quality. To marry Portia, he demands from Antonio 3,000 ducats. And at that time, Antonio doesn't have 3,000 ducats because he lost his ships. So we can say that just for the artificiality or just to show off, Bassanio wants 3,000 ducats from Antonio. So sometimes girls, you feel that though here we can say that though Bassanio and Antonio, they have strong love for one another, they are the best example of friendship, but element of self-interest is also there in Bassanio. We can say that just to satisfy his own interest, to his own wish, he should not have asked or demanded 3,000 ducats. Ducats is a currency, is money. At that time, ducats, basically this word was used for coins. So what I think that Bassanio, for his own interest to marry Portia, should not have demanded for 3,000 ducats from Antonio. And he knew that Antonio did not have money at that time because he lost his ships. So the next paragraph, let me explain. Antonio had no money by him, and what happens then? Antonio had no money by him at that time to lend his friend. He said he would go to Shylock, the rich money lender, and borrow the money upon the credit of some ships. Antonio and Bassanio went together to Shylock, and Antonio asked the Jew to lend him 3,000 ducats. Antonio and Bassanio went together to Shylock and asked the Jew to lend him some 3,000 ducats. And on the other hand, Shylock thought within himself, if I can once catch him on the hip means that in adverse situation, in difficult situation, I will feed fat the ancient grudge I bear him. He hates our Jewish nation. He rails at me, insulted me. Cursed be my tribe if I forgive him. You called me cur, a cutthroat, unbeliever. Then Shylock says, if I break, you may with better face exact the penalty. Why, look you, said Shylock, O storm, I would be friends with you and have your love. He would forfeit a pound of flesh or pound of flesh. Forfeit means it was a contract basically. It means that if Antonio fails to return the money, he is going to have a penalty, and Antonio is going to have the penalty. And what was that? To cut a pound of flesh from his body. Antonio said, I will sign to this bond and say, there is much kindness in the Jew. Let me explain now. The paragraphs tells about or in detail the character of Shylock. Look here. First of all, oh storm. It is apostrophe. Oh, apostrophe is used. You have already read about that. You can observe that Shylock is presented as a selfish man, as a villain who wants to give money to Antonio, but on the condition, on the basis, on the reason that if Antonio fails to return the money of 3,000 ducats on time, then he forces Antonio to sign a bond that then Shylock, if Antonio fails to return him the money, Shylock would cut a piece of flesh from Antonio's body from anywhere he wants. And we also find Shylock as revengeful, because he says that Shylock rails him, insulted him, and he says that on the Jewish nation, he has been to the Jewish nation. Antonio has been doing something very bad, something wrong, or he considers Antonio considers Jewish nation as a you can say that as not as a good nation, and Shylock says that Antonio always he says that curse be on my tribe, curse be on my people, if he is not going to take the revenge from Antonio. And because Antonio Antonio many times kicked on his back and called him a cur. Cur means dog. You can observe here that dealing the attitude, the response, the reaction of approach of Antonio. Antonio is a hero, protagonist of the play. But this is the aspect that being Christian, he should not have done this. Though there was enmity between Jewish and Christian nation, but being Christian, as we find many Christian characters teaching or spreading the teachings of Christianity, Antonio should not have behaved in this way, should not have looked down upon Shylock and other Jewish people. He should not have called Shylock a dog, should not have kicked him at his back, should not have insulted Shylock in front of all the people in the market. This was the attitude that developed more hatred and prejudice in Shylock against Christian nation and against specifically Antonio. Hopefully you have understood now that what was the reason Shylock wanted to take revenge from Antonio, and what was the reason he wanted Antonio to sign this bond, then on a specific condition, to cut the flesh from Antonio's body. Let me repeat, if he would not be able to return the money of 3,000 ducats on time. Then we find Shylock's character here. So for these aspects are concerned, girls, or these elements are concerned, I really feel quite sympathetic for Shylock. You also must have developed these feelings, sympathetic feelings, kind feelings for Shylock, only because of the attitude of Antonio with Shylock. Though Shylock is presented as a negative character, he has some more negative elements than good aspects in his personality. But even then, such kind of attitude is not suitable for the character of Antonio. So moving ahead, so far as Shylock is concerned, he is presented as a hypocrite because he does not expose his reality, his real nature, and he says, "I would be friend with you, have your love." Because he mentions here, he taunts here, or in a satirical way, in a criticizing way, he says, "Forgiveness is the badges of our own town." Our own town means that he mentions that don't worry, though Antonio, you have insulted me many times, or all the times you've been insulting me, but Jewish nation believes in forgiveness, believes in mercy, and forgiveness is the badges of our own town, mean is the quality of Jews. Though this was all hypocrisy of Shylock, it was not at all that he developed forgiveness and mercy for Antonio. He just wanted to take revenge, and that is why he presented himself that I would be friend with you, have your love. Basically, Shylock was merciless. He mentions all grudges that he developed against Antonio, and he felt that he had been humiliated by Antonio many times. So this was all about the character of Shylock, that Antonio, and you can say that you can also write some, you can also take some important points to write the comparison between the character of Shylock and Antonio. I have, girls, mentioned some important dialogues as well for your better understanding, and I have mentioned all the important points as well, so that whenever you are going to make some questions, you can easily understand the points of discussion under some important you can say that some under some headings. So we are going to start the next paragraph that starts from, "Bassanio said Antonio should not sign to such a bond of him, and still Antonio insisted that he would sign it." So Shylock, hearing this debate, exclaimed, "O Father Abraham, what suspicious people these Christians are! A pound of man's flesh taken from a man is not so estimable, nor profitable, neither as the flesh of mutton or of beef. I say to you, to buy his favor I offer this friendship. If he will take it, it's better." Now, what does basically Antonio and Shylock, they are going and what does a Shylock going to explain about his grudges, or about the personality that he has hidden? Basically, he has not so Shylock has not exposed his personality. And the paragraph explains that basically Antonio is ready to sign the bond in spite of the insistence of Bassanio, that Bassanio now feels that he should not have asked for the money, or should not have asked for 3,000 ducats. And here Antonio also realizes that because Antonio, he considered it as a sport mean as a sports, as a fun. He thought that Shylock is not going to basically going to do do this in actual. He just in fun or in revenge, he is making Antonio sign this bond. This paragraph basically explains the theme of friendship. You can observe the sacrification or sacrifices of Antonio for Bassanio. Then Antonio, Shylock says, "Oh father," again, "Oh storm," "Oh father," apostrophe is there, means he is very much surprised that he says that these people are not going to believe. What kind of people these Christians are? So this is the dialogue of Shylock, that just you can say that he is going to, in this way, he is going to convince Antonio to sign the bond. Now look at the cleverness or shrewdness of Shylock, that he is in an indirect way, he is convincing Antonio to believe or to have faith in Shylock. Then but Bassanio is very much worried, and he realizes that something bad is going to be happened, because he can observe this shrewdness and cleverness on the face of Shylock. And you can also note down again the hypocrisy, the dual personality of Shylock. He says, "I offer this friendship." You have read or the dialogues of Shylock in previous paragraph as well. He says that, "I offer my friendship to you. I want to have your love." Here he says, "I offer my this friendship again to you," means he wants to present himself as a good friend, as a good person, though Antonio and Bassanio both are aware of the hypocrisy of the character of Shylock. So this paragraph explains the theme of friendship, how a friend is going to sacrifice everything for the other friend. Till now, girls, it is all about some of the important paragraphs, and the paragraphs explain some important themes. So this is the assignment for today, that start writing or start making the notes on some of the important themes, and then after preparing the notes, whatever you have read, whatever you have understood, send me on your respective or send all the themes to your respective teachers in your respective groups, and side by side start adding or keep adding the important points in all the questions, whether they are about characterizations, whether they are about the themes. Okay girls, see you tomorrow inshallah. Till then, Allah Hafiz, and thank you so much.